Welcome back to the Circle of M. We are in the woods, y'all, man. We are up here in the mountains, and I have some good guests on the Circle of M. They're stepping into my circle today, man. We're going to be talking about mental health and life. I have my good guy, Brandon Bostick, with me, former NFL veteran. Also, I have a therapist with me, Mark Van Steenberg. You feel me? I love this because I don't think anybody has really ever done this the way that we're doing it right now. We actually just took a hike. I'm tired as I don't know what. And this is something that is a lot different. And I feel like the viewers can really take heed to like what we're doing and how we're in nature today. But I want to first start it out, man. We always do a tap in segment. I'll go Brandon first and then you next, Mark. Like, how are you guys feeling today as far as starting off your day? We always do a tap in segment. So what's your feeling like today?
I'm feeling good. I woke up. I was kind of in a little funk, but I came here. I'm on the podcast. Went on a hike, so my mind's clear. My body's warm, so I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Oh man, that's what's up, man. A lot of times when we wake up or when we have opportunity to tell how we feel, we don't be truthful
Yeah.
about that or say like, hey, yo, I ain't feeling good today. And I think it's important to say that. What about you, Mark?
Man, I woke up today full of P and V, piss and vinegar, man. So grateful to have you here and
Oh man,
experiencing
appreciate it.
Colorado with us. And so I woke up today, full of excitement and ready to roll now. So,
Man, that's where we are today. Like for me, I woke up, it's hard to sleep last night. Obviously, elevation is different, but we have to learn how to be able to operate when it's uncomfortable. And I think the most times when we are heading to greatness is when we're uncomfortable. So I really believe in being uncomfortable. But first, man, I really want to dive deep into this mental health thing, life. I want to go to you first, Brandon. What was the experience like from you being undrafted and actually going into the NFL? Like, because you got it out the mud, is what we say. I went first round, so I don't have the same experience that you went through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what was that experience like?
Man, it was a tough journey. We was talking about it in the car. I was undrafted, so no one was expecting me to get drafted. I wasn't expecting to get drafted myself. Coming from Newberry College, Division II,
Wow.
it was hard for me to even get an opportunity to get in front of the NFL scouts. So I had my pro day. I didn't go to the combine. Draft came. I didn't get drafted, so I'm just waiting by my phone. Still waiting on that call. Still, waiting on that. Still keeping that dream alive.
Right.
I didn't get a call. Like a month later, I got a call from the Green Bay Packers. We want to bring you in. We want to try you out. You're a project. We want to move you to tight end now.
Man.
I'm like, what? I never played tight end before in my life.
So what you played before that?
I was a college receiver.
Whoa.
All my life, I played college receiver.
Okay.
So I got the call all of a sudden, we want you to play tight end. So I'm like, all right, let's go. It's the NFL, it's NFL. I always want to go to NFL. I was like, whatever. I can figure it out. So I get there. I go to Green Bay minicamp. I'm going through all these drills at tight end. Never played tight end before. Never even got in a three-point stance.
So it was an uncomfortable situation for you.
Uncomfortable situation for me. So I did that. Then they sent me home. You go through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I didn't perform good. I've never played tight end before. I never got in stance. Didn't know how to block. Didn't know how to run routes from a three-point stance. So I go back home. I continue to work out still. A couple of months go by, and I get a call from the Packers again. We want to bring you in for training camp. So I got the training camp invite. I just got better. I just kept working on my craft, kept getting better at that. And it's funny to hear you say, you was telling one of your stories.
Yeah.
About you kept getting pancaked. That was me at defensive end. At tight end, I kept trying to block these defensive ends and just push me on the ground every time. I was like 245.
Man.
Never played a position, didn't have any technique.
So you changed your position going into the NFL. That's crazy.
The biggest stage of your life. So I did that. And I just kept moving on throughout training camp and just worked my way up.
So what was it like mentally, like going through that part? Like, because you, like them sending you home and you having to come back.
Yeah.
And you actually having to train not knowing if you would get a call or not. So like we have to be able to tell the viewers and bring them into our world because we could be training for nothing.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So do you feel like that had an impact at that time on you mentally?
Oh, it did for sure. Because when I left college, like I said, I didn't have a college degree, so I didn't I didn't finish college. I just left going on this NFL dream, this NFL hope. So I left college thinking I was gonna be this big NFL player, and never have to worry about college again. I'm gonna be this superstar. But so I just kept grinding. You know, I went back home. I told Mark this story. I just went back home, and I remember all I had was my boy couch, Apollo Stretch. I'm forever grateful
Wow.
for him. I slept on his couch, and we ate chicken breast from Walmart, and we drank a jug of water. That's all we had for like 2 months straight. So that was
Wow.
all I did, and I just trained like 3 times a day.
Mm.
So I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. My mom was giving me like $20 a month,
Wow.
paying my cell phone bill, and that's all I had was my NFL dream
Mm.
and my grind. So that's all I did. I just worked on it. I know I need to work on my blocking. I just worked on my tight end thing. So I just went back to the grind, and that paid off for me.
Wow. So you was able to you got into training camp, and you actually you made the team with the you said you was on practice
I was
squad,
on
but
practice squad
still,
my first year.
I mean, you still with the team. I
Yeah.
think that's a huge accomplishment, especially from where you come.
Yeah.
And I want to go to you, Mark. Man, like you have a huge story too, especially from, where you come from to where you are now. Obviously, you're the owner of Sage Elite, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. You talking about your business and what you're doing, but what do you feel like started you on your journey of being a therapist and wanting to help guys like me and Brandon?
Wow. I mean, I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio, and, just coming through there, I mean, it's a lot of grind. It's a lot of people, either banding together to help one another. So I really learned that there. And I'll be honest with you, man, I never saw myself being a therapist.
Wow.
I never saw it in a million years. Friends had told me that I'd be good at it. My wife had told me that I'd be good at it. And, one day she was like, hey, you should go to be go get your master's in counseling or social work. We need men to help men. So
seems like the wives know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of opened the door for me. What's that?
You say you need to get a wife.
Yeah. Well, it just, that really like had a light bulb over my head. And I had, played football growing up. Went to college to play football. Didn't really pan out in college. I just didn't really want to do it anymore. There was no way in hell I was going to make it to your guys' level. You know what I mean? Like I knew that very quickly.
Yeah.
So I dipped out. I mean, but I've coached it for years, and so I guess to answer your question, how I kind of got around to helping football players is like it really started when I was coaching. I was going through grad school to get my master's degree. And I really had a different approach on coaching. I'm not the type of coach that was going to get in your face and scream at you while you're bench pressing.
Right.
I'm not going to chew on your ass when you're doing something, but I'm going to really think about the 2 or 3 sentences that I'm going to say to you. I'm going to come over and I'm going to say them into your ear hole.
Yeah.
And then it's going to happen.
Right.
I'm also there to make sure that you're getting fed and you're getting home and you're doing your homework. That's the whole other part of being an athlete too, is all the other stuff has to be functioning too for you to be able to perform.
Yeah, man.
So,
that's real, because that's why I became a life coach, honestly, because, I understand that depending on the player, depending on the person, you have to dictate how you treat them, what works best for them. And I understand that process of it. It's so fun to do. And I commend you for being able to help guys like us in that way, because it's not a lot of people that actually are doing that and actually want to see, whether it's a football player, basketball player, actually want to see someone succeed, not only in their respective business that they're doing, but just in life in general.
I think there's a really good, I think a lot of people in the healing field, when they work with athletes, they think that athlete is fully just concentrating on performance. And that's a big part of it, right? You want to be able to perform. You want to be able to meet your goals. But, my experience with working with players is that there's a huge percentage of players that they don't really care about performance anymore. It's about quality of life.
Right.
Like, you've done your battle, you've done your work. Now it's time to kind of find some quality of life, find some peace and contentment with your path that you kind of just went through.
And when you talk about mental health too,
yeah.
And we all think, or as people, sometimes we think that some of the stuff that we're dealing with is gonna just magically go away, right? You were talking earlier about,
I had that mindset.
You know what I'm saying? I was like that too.
I'm like, how long am I gonna deal with this?
Right.
Like, I should be able to put in some work.
Yeah.
See the results,
Yeah.
and I
Right.
should be good. And I
Yeah.
can get back to doing a normal life. So what?
Man, it's like now you getting the perspective from a therapist and someone who has actually been in the field. Like, what would your perspective be on that? Because you were saying it a little bit in the car, but your perspective on like what the work is going to entail when you actually start that journey of your healing process.
I mean, the real thing is, and I'm going to be completely 100% honest, is that we're being constantly desensitized and traumatized to this day. Okay, so if we're talking like Brandon and, like, hey, how long am I going to feel like this? I want to go in and I want to put the work in. That's great if nobody else is messing with you.
Right.
And it's a perfect setting and I can control all of that, right? Then it's only going to be a certain amount. But the reality is in your guys' community, the Black community, the name of the game is to keep your entire community in trauma. Okay, I mean, that's why
a bar.
That's why, there's
yeah.
There's a huge component to all of that, in that, and that's also exploited by organizations that want to utilize your athletic skills.
Man.
Because you're in survival mode. You're in survival mode, right? So you're out there hunting, you're up on the horse, you're a warrior for your tribe. You're like, that's what you're doing. And a lot of the times, and a lot of the players that I work with, they transition from warrior to elder.
Yeah.
And when they transition to elder, that really is a really crash and burn.
Yeah.
That's like a loss of identity and low self-worth, but that's the most important role. That's when you're back at the campsite with all the younger people, teaching them.
Yeah.
You're teaching them and preparing them. You're teaching them how to do these things. You're teaching them how to not survive but thrive. You're teaching them how to use, the world around them.
Yeah.
So it's a big transition.
So, I mean, and that's exactly right with what he was saying. Now, you talked a little bit about, like, when we're done, right? Because I'm going to get your take on it, too. But I want your take on, like, when we're done, we're still in a phase of, like going. Like, we're on go. Like, right, you talked about when you wake up in the morning, it's like you going to practice and you getting ready for something. Like, talk about that experience and how you kind of had to, like, almost like dim it down a little bit and try to bring yourself back because you're not playing football anymore.
Sure. I had to switch up my whole routine, just from that athlete mindset. Wake up in the morning, first thing you're going to do, you get ready, you're going to practice.
Yeah.
You're not worried about how you feeling, how you thinking. You're not worried about any of that stuff. So now I'm more, like when I wake up now, I'm more concerned how am I feeling, that kind of thing. So now I wake up, I still have that energy, I still have all that testosterone.
Yeah.
But now I have to put it towards somewhere. So now I'm putting it towards things that make me feel better, to slow down my mind, slow down my thoughts. So, I kind of had to switch my whole mentality from that warrior to like a more peaceful person in the morning. Change my music. I don't want to listen to rap music in the morning. I'm already turned up.
Yeah.
I need some music that's gonna calm me down.
Some mellow.
Yeah. It's like something to more mellow me out and calm me down. So I just had to switch up my whole mindset, my whole routine, and get out of that, that battle mode. Because we so used to waking up, get dressed, go straight to practice facility. And
got everything laid out.
Everything laid out. So I kind of had to recreate myself, my mentality, and create my routine, a more peaceful routine for me.
Man, that's crazy.
And I've worked with a lot of people even outside of athletics that are like, high level CEOs and stuff, and they function that same way, right? Wake up, hit the grind, and there's a lot that you can do for your self-care when you wake up, and even before you're putting your feet flat on the ground, you're already running through a routine before you get yourself out of bed.
Right.
Because you gotta, even for myself personally, the mornings make or break me. I gotta make sure that I'm like flowing.
Right. Right.
If I'm
and
grinding,
how do you as a therapist, how do you help them through that quote unquote routine when they don't have football anymore, right? And to be able to bring them back to actual being a human, like, you know what I mean? It's about being a human,
not a machine.
You know what I'm saying? Not a machine. Like, how do you help them bring them back to that?
Well, I mean, bipolar 1, post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, ADHD, a lot of these diagnoses, for you to actually be able to function and be able to act, get some movement on it, you need a process orientation.
Right.
Every therapist is going to tell you that, like, dude, let's look at your schedule, because we have to actually build these positive ritualistic behaviors.
Right.
We know the negative ritualistic behaviors. We don't even see them as ritualistic. We just see them as like, dude, I got to do that to get to that, and I'm going to feel better.
Right.
But when we're actually looking at positive ritualistic behaviors, it's really trying to look at and trying to collect that data and utilizing that every day.
That's
The
real.
NFL really, kind of taught you guys that. That's why Brandon's still waking up like that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, I still get up like, I need to be on a schedule. I mean, that's just the way I'm operating. Even if, I was talking about, shout out to Dash Marketing. They help me with my schedule. That's very important for me, because if I don't, then I feel like I'm gonna be all out of whack. You know what I'm saying?
That's one thing Mark did for me.
Right.
He created a planner.
Right.
So kind of how they have on the, how you go in the locker room, you got
everything laid out. Yeah.
From 7 to 4. So I got that now, but now I get to fill it in myself.
Right.
And work on myself. So I'm putting what I want to do in there, not what someone else is telling me to do. So I kind of fill my schedule up that way. So I got a planner.
I want to really go onto the mental health side and talk about, we call it, the play.
Yeah.
Right. The play of, I think this was what, 2015 NFC Championship
in
Seattle. I was watching it. Everybody was watching it. But it was a certain play that happened. Right. They kicked the onside kick. It bounced off your helmet, right, or your hands.
It hit both.
Man, so I was always thinking in that moment, and even after, like, what was his mental like after that? Like, how did he feel? Even when you having death threats, you having all these things. Like, how can you overcome those things? Do you want to talk a little bit about, what happened in that moment, and then how you overcame it to where you are now?
Oh man. It's crazy. Every time someone mentions that, I have to like kind of revisit myself.
Hey, but it's okay though. It's okay to
like I'm in a therapy session, so I'm gonna dig in there.
Yeah, bro.
But that was just a crazy experience. I've never experienced failure in my life.
Right.
To that point, my life hasn't always been smooth, but I've always came on the positive side of those things. That was the first time I really fell from the top to the bottom. So I didn't know how to respond. I didn't have any coping mechanisms. So that just hit me hard mentally. Mentally, just myself, my confidence and my belief in my abilities. I had that, and then I had the outside world, and then I had the team. So I had all these different things coming at me, 100 miles per hour. So it was really tough for me to deal with my emotions and just with my career. I didn't want to play football no more because I failed at it. Like once I dropped that ball, like
that's how I felt too, man.
More. Like I just felt like a failure.
Yeah.
For that simple play. And some days I still feel like that. So it's crazy to even think about that. But yeah, that play definitely changed my life for the better. Because I don't know, I was going down a path that I would have self-destruct anyways. So that was kind of a wake-up call to me. Yeah. Like, Brandon, you need to, get yourself together and get back in line. Because I was going on a different path, down the wrong path. So that was definitely a wake-up call for me.
Yeah. So for me, like I know that I was dealing with anxiety and depression. Were you dealing with some of the same things?
I was.
Even through that time?
No. Actually, I never dealt with mental health. Like that was the first time I experienced mental health.
Wow.
So I had no idea what I was feeling. I didn't know how to explain these emotions. I thought it was normal to feel like that after a game.
Man, I was telling y'all before, like I still honestly have trouble with trying to explain my emotions or what I'm dealing with, because it's not like the norm. It's like, if I ask my dad today, if he was mad, he can't tell me the actual expression or what he was feeling. It's just he was mad, right? So
what does that feel like?
Right. And then when you see guys come in, or you talk to so many guys, when they come in and like, is it something where you continue to try to help them fill out their emotions or feelings? Yeah, put words to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, one of my biggest goals for everyone, even myself as I continue to age, is increase my emotional intelligence, right? Being able to understand, like, wait, I felt that, understand, to be able to pause and cycle through that and be like, that's where it's coming from. It's coming from that, and I know it's coming from that, and I can actually start putting some boundaries around it, or, start doing some coping skills so I don't get impacted as much. But emotional intelligence is the name of the game. I mean, it's building that awareness, right? But, once you build your awareness, you're aware of everything.
Yeah.
That's the bad and the negative, or the bad and the good, right? Excuse
Right.
me. And so you know, as you build your awareness, building your awareness is where you start to learn how to engage and disengage your energy. Like, that's not going to suit me. So I'm
Right.
not going to engage with that. I'm disengaging from it and I'm going to go this way.
Right.
So it's a lot of that.
Man, so I think engaging, I always talk about acknowledging that you have an issue is like one of the first things. I feel like I didn't really know that I had a problem or I had an issue. So I had to first like acknowledge it and then go get the help
Yeah.
that I needed. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Mhm.
once I went and got the help, I really felt like I was on an uphill battle, but it was like it was like this. I'll have days where
Yeah.
like really days where I'm like, bro, I don't know, man. And I know y'all probably have those, you know, same type of days
Oh,
too,
for sure.
right? But at the same time, where you guys are now, you dealt with what you dealt with, right? And
Yeah.
then I know I was asking you earlier, all the stories that you hear, man,
Yeah.
yo, like how do you take on all of that as a therapist, you know what I'm saying, and still be able to function and still be at your very best?
Man, it's a lot of mental compartmentalization, man.
Man,
Being able to store things in little boxes over here and disengage, right?
right,
Being able to, be in that moment with that person, document it, and once I document it and it's in my chart, I can actually start deleting it,
right.
right? Because it's in the file,
Mm,
and the next time I talk to them, I can actually get back into that. I can read what I wrote and get back to that moment with them. But it's a lot of compartmentalization. It's and obviously that's a trauma response, right? We
right,
we start we start responding to trauma like that. But you know, as a clinician, I feel that it's very imperative that you have that skill set
right,
to be like, hey, I talked to this person. This is what's going on. Put it in a door, lock it, move down the hallway, open the next door. Hey, how
yeah,
are we doing? Close it, lock it, and just keep moving down.
right.
And I've worked in so many settings where it's like really fast paced,
Mm-hmm.
or that person's with me for 90 to 120 days, so it
Right.
slows down, right? So I've got to experience all of that.
So where we are now, you know, we can talk about Sage Elite,
Yeah.
but even before that, what are some things that you do to cope, to help with your mental health, help with your anxiety? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do a lot of meditation. I just started meditating probably like a year ago. That's been big for me.
Yeah.
Because in the morning, my mornings are tough for me. So just getting to my breath in the morning, that's been good for me. And just having my dog. I have a dog now. So my meditation, my dogs are two things that first thing I do, those are two things I do. And I'm going to thank God for waking me up. And I'm going to say three things I'm grateful for. So I try to do those three things in the morning to wake me up and get myself going. And I do a lot of yoga and I work out. So just keeping my mind and body sharp, however I can, and always just just doing positive things.
Right.
Instead of going back into those bad habits, I try to do more good things for myself and my mind. So that's pretty much what I
I
do.
mean, that's what it's about. Anybody that's listening, it's about creating that routine and doing something that you actually enjoy doing, and it actually helps you. Is there anything you would say as far as a routine for you? Just it could be
I mean,
talking to someone or something that you do.
I mean,
Obviously, hiking. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you can't do that right when you hop out of your bed unless you lived up here. But I'll be honest with you, I do a lot of, breath work before I get out of the bed. So as I'm laying in the bed, I'll get to my heart breath. So I'm going to breathe into my third eye for 5 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to exhale for 5 seconds, and that's called your heart breath. And you
Right.
get into that routine, and then you do 7 seconds, which is your peaceful breath. So 7 in, 7 out.
Man, so like what we were saying, there was a point in time really where I left the game. I wanted to get out quick because my mental health was getting too much, anxiety, depression, going through a lot of stuff. You had a period in your career when you was ready to let it go too.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that process and why you didn't let it go at the time?
Like after that play happened,
Yeah,
I was cut like the next 2 weeks.
yeah.
Like next 2 weeks, I got cut. So
What did they say to you when, like,
like
what
the
was?
exit meeting.
Yeah, like, what did they say?
So I went to the like how you have the exit meetings.
Right.
I asked the coach, I'm like, hey, like, what's up? Like, am I gonna be here next year? He's like, yeah, we think a lot about you. That one game don't define like how we feel about you. Like come back next year bigger, faster, and stronger. Get ready for the season. I'm like, okay. So I left there thinking I was going to be on the team next year. When I flew to Houston, the next day I got a phone call. You have been released.
Yeah.
I get released, fly to Green Bay, get my stuff, and then I just go home. And then I get picked up by the Vikings. So I got picked up by the rival of the team I just got cut from. So I had to deal with that from the fans.
Dealing with the fans is like, they don't care if you, they don't care if you even, they don't have a heart sometimes.
They don't.
You know?
And I don't think they look at you as a person either. So,
nah.
So that was hard for me. So then I got to the point where I didn't know if I was going to make the team next year because I was already at 2 years.
Yeah.
And like I told you, I had needed 3 years total to get my NFL benefits. So I was at the point where I'm like, I don't even really like football. Football made me feel bad.
Right.
I had just failed. I felt like I suck. Everyone else is telling me the same thing. Why I want to quit playing football. But like again, that extra year I needed to get my benefits and my 401k and all that. So I'm like, I need to get one more year. So
you had to get you stayed with it because you needed to get your benefits from the NFL because obviously you got to get 3 and 3 games, right?
Yeah, I had to get 3 years. So I know I need another season. So
games, right?
Yeah.
So I just went back to the grind and just kind of just willed myself to it, unknowingly dealing with mental health.
Yeah.
I was dealing with that by just partying. So I wasn't seeing a therapist. I wasn't helping myself. I was just partying and just doing whatever I could to make me feel good. So that's what I did.
Man. And you know what's so crazy, man? We got similar stories because I was pushing through. I wanted to quit damn near every year. It would be times when I was in the room, I'd just be crying the whole time because the fans didn't like me. Coaches didn't like me. I felt like they didn't like me. You know what I mean? And I felt like I was unwanted. I was telling you earlier, like, I felt like Chip, he didn't want to draft me. They wanted a receiver.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just felt like, you know, my confidence was shot and I needed someone who could bring me back up to the level that I was coming out of college.
Yeah.
And I didn't seek that and I didn't have that, right? And so I decided to leave the game because obviously I had a end with suicide and I overcame it, right? You know, and once I actually got through it, that's when I started the therapy journey.
Yeah.
And it really changed my life. And now we have a therapist with us, Mark. Like, what do you see? We told our stories. What is your story like dealing with us type of athletes?
Well, I mean, you know, but football players in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing in a very aggressive game.
Right.
I mean, even as a former football coach, I had to teach you aggression.
Right.
So you wouldn't get hurt. Right.
Right.
I mean, that's a very aggressive sport. So, you know, as a clinician, I see a lot of players that very similar to the two of you, just trying to get there.
But you
Yeah.
specifically work with football players.
Yeah, I specifically treat only active and former NFL players.
Wow.
So, you know, the active players, I help them prepare, get ready for their seasons, you know, through meditation and doing all of that. But, you know, the former players, it's more trying to process that PTSD. I mean,
Yeah.
players in the National Football League experience unique traumas that you can't even compare it to the military. They try to compare it to the military, but the reality is that you guys really experience physical trauma every snap, during practice, during the game.
Right.
You know, you're not on a really big battlefield where you might come across another guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's very unique trauma.
That's something that you said that's very key. You said that we deal with a unique type of trauma. And I do think a lot of times they try to mend our trauma as the same as if we was in the military and things of that nature. But what you're saying is we have to treat it differently.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there is a lot of similarities, right? You're working together as a unit.
Right.
You know, you have to get the training. You have to sharpen those skills. I mean, and it's war when you go
Right.
out there. You know, I've talked to players where they practice one specific play all week just to shatter a guy's elbow.
Right.
You know, that was all they had to do. You know, that's like back to that brutal component of the
Man.
game. So,
And people don't realize, man, we literally,
sorry, Brandon.
you might as well say we're in 5 car wrecks every day. You got practice and you got the game. Like our body feels. I don't know how you guys' body feel like when you're done playing, but
I stopped playing at a very young age because I'm like, I'm out.
yeah,
I don't like this feeling.
yeah,
I realized that. But, America has a very big obsession with football.
yeah,
They sell it to everybody else that it's a game. To you guys, it's your life and it's your
For sure.
livelihood and it's a job.
Right.
It's a war.
yeah,
But to all these other people, it's a game, right? And
Yep.
so you get this societal resentment where, people get pissed when Colin Kaepernick is really trying to, speak his mind.
yeah.
Like that's his platform.
What
That's what he worked for.
They they don't really want you to have a voice, or they, it's about the shield, obviously,
Right.
and they try to protect that. But at the same time, we have to, as athletes, be able to voice our opinion,
Yep.
so we can make the change that we want to make at the end of the day. And I think you guys are making that change when you talk about, Sage Elite and what you guys are doing now, man. I really feel like you guys are changing the game and what you are going to be doing in the near future, man. Brandon, I really want to talk to you guys about your respective businesses and where you're gonna go with it. For us, I really want to go down that place of where do we go now? Like, what is the solution to continue to get guys like us, athletes, whatever it may be, the help that we solely desire that we need? And I feel like one of the solutions is your business, Sage Elite. You want to talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit?
man. I appreciate your kindness. I mean, really what, with our work with players is what we're seeing is that this is like a long-term care.
Right.
Okay. You can go to these 30-day residential facilities, you're going to get the healing, but, and I've worked in a lot of those settings, but you really have to, the work happens when you get home, right? So you need a long-term team that you can, connect with, that you trust. You need to understand that depression, anxiety, it's all cyclical, right? So when we're up here, it's going to be great, but when we're down here, we're going to need people to help us out. Right. So and I'm telling you what, one of the biggest, issues facing players today is they want to isolate, and that's a part of that societal resentment and that social anxiety, them going to the store and getting recognized, immediate trigger, right?
So you talk about immediate trigger.
Yeah.
I want to isolate too sometimes. What about you?
I do.
Like,
Mine is I withdraw from people because my social anxiety. So I definitely withdraw. I don't like to really go in public, or if I'm in a bad, I don't know, my body just can tell when I'm in a situation and my anxiety comes. So it's very hard to want to be or want to do those things.
I get like that too. Sometimes I just don't want to be bothered. But you gotta, the thing about it is, man, if you're out there listening, man, you as an athlete, as a football player, man, you definitely want to get with the right people. You definitely want to be in the right place that you can actually get the right healing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to do a 30-day retreat, right? And come back to the same thing and you feel like there's no change.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like what you guys are doing is crazy and very commendable, and I appreciate you guys for allowing me to be a part of this journey, being able to be out here in Colorado. But what we do on the Circle of M, we always end it off with, what could we leave the people? What could we leave someone that may be going through a mental health issue, or someone who is an athlete, player now, or retired, who is looking for the help that they need? And I'll start with you, Mark, and then we'll go to you, Brandon, and I'll go last. What would you say to someone? Any advice?
I mean, one, if you're a former athlete, an active athlete, and you're struggling with, mental health issues, addiction, anything like that, call me. I definitely want to talk to you. But, I definitely feel that, I can teach you a lot of things. One of the very easiest things that I can teach you is this thing that I'm wearing around my neck, where it can teach you to build stillness. It can build the pause within the brain.
Right.
A lot of players have that frontal lobe where, man, they're on fire. The brain's moving fast. Their moods are cycling, and boy, oh boy, it's going fast. this is the key to the door to the great way.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's
so
go.
that's one way. Okay. That's one way that I can help teach people. And anybody out there, if you have a mala, it's it's very similar to the Catholic Rosary, very connected in the Eastern philosophies of Buddhism and Hinduism. It's very beneficial for mental health.
Man, what you said, I hope y'all heard that, man. Make sure you contact my guy. We'll make sure we put everything at the bottom of the screen, especially to be able to get the healing that you need. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Like, what about you, Brandon? What advice could you give just in your journey of you getting the healing that you solely needed, desired, however that looks for you?
Just being vulnerable and being real with myself.
Yeah.
And with people I trust. I think that was the biggest thing for me. Like you said in the podcast, just acknowledging no feelings, and then you're getting the help. So that was the biggest thing for me. I just, the cliche, you're not alone. Me knowing other people are going through the same thing I am makes me feel better. Because I know I got people I can reach out to. I got people like you. I have other friends that are going through similar things. So knowing that and just being vulnerable with myself, my therapist, and people I trust, that's been good for me on my journey.
Man, let's talk about your hot yoga.
Oh yeah.
Tell them about the hot yoga. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm about to go back. I gotta get rid of this. You know what I'm saying? I want to start taking on some hot yoga myself. Tell them about that experience. What was your weight starting out?
Yeah.
And where you are now.
Well, I started during COVID, because during COVID there was no gyms open.
Right.
So I just figured I wanted, and there was a yoga studio like walking distance, so that made it a lot easier.
Right.
Just walk 2 minutes on the street and go get a workout in. So I decided doing that, and then I just saw how much better it made me feel, just calming my mind, just calming down my thoughts, just being with myself in my mat. That's been good for me. So I just got into it that way, and playing football, you kind of want to get better at things. You don't want to be that dude in the class that can't do the poses. So I had that football mindset. I just brought that to yoga. So I just attacked it like I was attacking football. And I just saw so many benefits from it.
Well, you're saying something
mentally.
You're saying something very interesting. I mean, that's, the two of you used your body as a vehicle to get you to where you got high up on that mountain. And so, it's imperative, and I tell this to all the players I work with, that you have to use that vehicle to guide you through healing too. Okay, so it's sometimes that body's encased, and depression loves that. It loves when you're feeling stiff and you want to lay in the bed and watch Netflix. Oh, it loves that. But you got to be able to use that body as a vehicle into healing as well.
Man.
So that's a huge component to it.
And the advice, that I would give, just piggybacking off of what you guys said, I just think that being vulnerable is one. Two is, having your support system of people that you can call and talk to. But then also being in a place when you are being vulnerable, right? You can actually be in a place that would allow you to actually get the help you need, right?
Yeah.
If you're not vulnerable, then you have this like barrier, this wall that you won't allow someone to get in, because we've had that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, a lot of the time that's a trauma response, right? We get into that trauma response because we don't want that to come out because it's fear based.
Yeah.
And that's a sensory trigger there too. And we were talking about trauma. A lot of people don't understand that. Trauma is something that we have to see.
Right.
Trauma impacts your 5 senses. So let's say you're wearing this Sage Elite shirt, and we're walking down the road here and I get clipped by a car, God forbid.
Yeah.
Months down the road, you could have processed my death, could have been grieving it, whatever the trauma is. But you wake up that day, you throw that shirt on, and that tag on the back of the shirt kind of just got you.
Right.
And next thing you know, you're downstairs, you're in the kitchen, and you just don't feel right.
Right.
Your fuse is a little bit shorter. You're kind of like, don't talk to me today. I'm kind of in something. I got to go do something. And it's all because your nervous system was really just triggered by a sensory feeling.
Man, and we was talking about too, also, your mental health, some of the things that you're dealing with, it's not going to go away.
No.
Right? It's you have to really embark on this journey, because this is something that we've been dealing with, our ancestors was dealing with. So I also think that we deal with some of the same things that they deal with, right? And so I just feel like that we have to, be on point with going on the actual journey and actually doing the work. So I really feel like we've had a great conversation. We have really, I feel like, transcend, what mental health means. Me and you are both athletes. All three of us are both athletes, really. And we have a therapist with us, so you're getting different perspectives. So I really hope the viewers and everyone can really seek the help that they need, especially with my guy Mark here and my good guy Brandon.
Dude, thanks for having us on.
Man, I appreciate you guys, man. This has been, man. Oh, this has been lovely. And the circle of them. This is my circle right here. If you want to step into my circle, let's do it. We out.